College football week 2 is in the books. Put a capper on that at 5-3, 62.5%. That's making some money. So we move on to week 3. Got 10 games, 10 free picks for week 3. No Thursday action, no Friday action. All 10 picks are on Saturday. There is a hurricane that's causing some issues with some scheduling and some games. Some games have been canceled, some others have been moved, but um, that's not impacting any of these picks at all. I built these picks around those. So just a caveat: I did all my work on Tuesday, so some of these lines have moved a little bit since then. When I'm doing this recording on Wednesday, I will talk about the line movements and see if they impacted or how they could potentially change your decision on those games. So here we are, 10 free picks, week 3. Here we go, week 3. SMU at Michigan. Michigan laying the heavy chalk here, 35 points. Michigan's coming off the big win against Western Michigan. Nice little bounce back game for them after Notre Dame. SMU's coming in off of a beatdown at the hands of TCU. And if you were here last week, then you know that TCU was a pick of mine against SMU. And if you watched that game, then you know SMU really didn't have anything going on offense. And that's been the case all season long. Offense is struggling. They're only averaging 249 yards a game. Now, yes, they did put up 12 points last week, but 7 of those, a touchdown came on 51-yard run. The safety came off of a fumble by TCU. So the offense, if you ask me my opinion, the offense really only scored 3 points. They got a drive. They were able to sustain a drive long enough to get 3 points. They capitalized off of mistakes by TCU. TCU took a little time to get settled in. The rain delay, lightning delay in the area. With the rain, it took a little while for them to get settled in. Once they did, they just took off. The game was all theirs. I mean, they basically destroyed them in the second half. And I expect the same thing to happen this week. SMU, as I said, the offense isn't any good. Michigan's defense is better than TCU's, and they're only allowing 255 yards a game. So it's not as if SMU should expect an offensive explosion this week. UAM, if you think about 35 points, that's a lot. Last week they were laying pretty close to that many points against Western. I think it was 28 and a half. The line went off at. So this is a touchdown more. But if you think about it, that's 5 touchdowns. If they win 35 to nothing, that's 5 touchdowns. They're getting averaging 11 possessions a game, so they got to score on half of their possessions or less than half of their possessions. And they scored on 7 possessions, 7 touchdowns last week. 7 of their 11 possessions went for touchdowns last week against Western Michigan. The other 4, or they had 3 ending punts, and they had 1 missed field goal. I didn't count the 2 end of halves as possessions. It's just they did control the ball at the end of the first half and they controlled the ball at the end of the second half as well. But I didn't count those in it. So those are other opportunities where big plays can happen. So the opportunity for Michigan to score is going to be fairly easy because SMU defense is pretty holy. It's like Swiss cheese. They given up 458 yards a game. So this shouldn't be a problem. Shea Patterson looked a little bit relaxed last week, settled in. The offense is going to continue to evolve this week. Don't be afraid to lay the heavy chalk. Michigan minus 35. The next pick for week 2, I'm staying in the Big Ten. It's Missouri minus 7 at Purdue, and I'm taking Missouri and I'm laying the chalk here. I went against Purdue in week 1. I took Northwestern, and the points there. Purdue is their 3rd home game, but the defense is really struggling. They're allowing 408 yards a game, 290 through the air, 118 on the ground. So there's a lot of question marks around that pass defense, and obviously they're not getting much of a pass rush. No pressure on the quarterback, so really letting the corners stick out there. The corners can't hang around with wide receivers, and that's gonna be very troublesome against this Missouri offense, which is high skilled players in the passing game. They got Drew Lock at quarterback. He's a potential first-round NFL pick. He could be the number 1 overall pick next year in the draft. That's how good this guy is. He runs this Missouri pass-first offense. They got 580 yards a game. 490 of that's coming through the air. So this could get out of hand very quickly for Purdue. The defense, Missouri can put up a lot of points on offense, and the just on the other side, Missouri's defense is looking like it did back in the day in 2014 and 2015 seasons when they're only allowing 263 total yards a game, 172 through the air, 91 through on the ground, and that's going to be a lot of cause a lot of trouble for Purdue as Purdue's offense is ground based. I mean they're averaging 474 yards a game, but 272 of that's on the ground. So what's going to you got an immovable object against an unstoppable force, right? And the immovable object is the or the Missouri defense, and the unstoppable force is Purdue's rush offense. So one of them's going to give. I don't think it's going to be Missouri. I think it's going to be Purdue's defense or offense rush game that's going to continue to suffer. Purdue's -4 in turnovers in the first two. That's they got to protect the ball. They got some young players. Yes, they got some good skill position players, but they're a couple years away. Jeff Brom's doing a great job getting the recruits in there, but they're young guys. They're going to make mistakes while they adjust to the speed and the size of college football. And then finally, the last little note: Missouri is 5-1 versus opponents off back-to-back straight-up L's. Purdue matches that criteria with Week 1 loss to Northwestern at home, Week 2 loss versus Eastern Michigan at home. Both of those are upsets, by the way. Straight up losses, ATS losses, as they were blown out. They should have won both of those games, but they didn't because they couldn't protect the football when it mattered. Don't expect anything different. Purdue's defense struggles to contain Missouri's offense, and Missouri runs away with it as Purdue can't get the rush game going. Lay the chalk on the road with this one. SEC over Big Ten, Missouri -7 versus Purdue. College football week 3 continues. Pick 3 heading out west. Arizona State -5 at San Diego State. Again, another road chalk team that I like. I'm going to lay the points here with ASU. SDSU, Xavier San Diego State, they're a run first team. And that's going to be even more relevant this week. Quarterback Chapman is out for this game. He's going to be out for the next 3 to 6 weeks, which raises a lot of questions for them because he's been the starting quarterback there for 2 years now. This is his third year as a starting quarterback, so nobody's taken a snap besides him in this offense for quite some time. The offense is not as if it's doing that great anyway. They're only averaging 346 a game, and 192 of that's coming through the air, 155 on the ground. So expect more of that to come on the ground, and that's where they're going to struggle this week. ASU's defense has been A plus so far to start this season. They're only allowing 299 a game with only 33 rushing yards a game. Now, and that's against Michigan State. They really contained Michigan State's rush offense last week. Michigan State's normally a run-first team. They are having some problems getting the run game going this year, but it's not. ASU did the same thing in week 1, so it's not as if it was a one-time fluke for this defense. So look for San Diego State to have some trouble getting the run game going in this game. Also, if you look at flip side, SDSU, in week 1 they did a great job stopping the run on Stanford, but they stack in the box that really opened up, made them susceptible to the pass. They allowed 309 passing yards is what ASU is getting. So ASU is a pass-first offense. They got Manny Wilkins back there at the quarterback, and he's got his A1 guy, N'Keal Harry, out there on the outside. They're quite the deadly combo. If N'Keal Harry's not the first wide receiver taken in next year's draft, then he's going to be the second. It's a coin flip between him and that guy out in Ole Miss. So, SDSU, they won last year against ASU on the road in week 2, so expect ASU to be playing with revenge. And with that note, Arizona State is 9-0 with revenge versus opponents off straight-up win. And SDSU, they got that win last week. They didn't. I don't know what the line was, if there even was a line against Sacramento State, but they snuck out a win, 28-14. So, but again, San Diego State has not been impressive this year. Stanford took it to them. They barely did anything against Sacramento State. They usually use their non-conference schedule as building blocks, testing things out for when for the real deal for them. The real deal is the conference games, and when they get into Mountain West play, they usually play quite a bit differently. Perform a lot better. So I'm just going to stick with this. Trends develop for a reason, and I'm going to stick with the trends. I'm going to ride them here. Arizona State -5 at San Diego State. College football week 3 free picks continues with Florida State -4 at Syracuse. This line has moved to -3. I snatched up Syracuse +4 on Tuesday. I didn't wait. As soon as I saw that line +4, I hit it. Um, you +3 still a play. You shouldn't let that bother you. Anything at a field goal or more with Syracuse, you should take. If it's anything less, stay away from this game. Um, I honestly, I do believe Syracuse is going to win this game outright. I think they'll pull out the outright upset. The Florida State defense is not playing like the Florida State defenses we know. They're really struggling. They're allowing 341 passing yards a game. I mean, and that includes versus Samford. Samford threw for 475 yards against Florida State. I mean, Florida State won the game 36-26 at home, Doak Walker Stadium. That's after obviously the upset in week 1 against Virginia Tech. And now they got to hit the road and they go to the Carrier Dome. Carrier Dome is a very difficult place to play. Syracuse has a very unfair home field advantage, and that's just on top of this offense. Dino Babers' offense is just clicking on all cylinders right now. He did say when he was hired, he said week 4, season 3 is when his offense will be at its peak and its maximum performance. Well, here we are. He could be ahead of schedule. The offense is averaging 508 yards a game, 234 through the air, 275 on the ground. With Dungy healthy and running this offense, it's an A++ offense. Hard to keep these guys out of the end zone. Florida State's 0-5 versus opponents off back-to-back straight-up wins. That's Syracuse. And Barber gets this team up for big games. I mean, last year, if you look at last year, how close Syracuse was last year, they beat Clemson at home. They pulled that upset. They went on the road at FSU. They only lost by 3. They went on the road to Miami. They only lost by 8. So these guys show up. Babers gets his teams prepared, and especially against a Florida State team that appears to be transitioning, you wouldn't expect a transition to impact Florida State, a coaching regime change like this, to impact Florida State the way that it has. Jimbo Fisher, he didn't leave the cupboards bare. Willie Taggart inherited a lot of talent in Florida State. There's a lot of talent on this team. Don't get me wrong. That's why anything less than a field goal I'm staying away from, because Florida State, they can still win this game. They could blow. I could be completely wrong. Florida State could win this game by 40 points. But the way that Florida State's defense has been playing this year and Syracuse offense has been playing this year, you want to back the hot team. And that hot team happens to be getting points and playing at home in a friendly environment, which is difficult for opponents to play it. So take the home team, take the points here. Syracuse, anything at 3 or greater.